coverage tonight at 8:42. We are just minutes away from our first launch of the year here on the Space Coast. And this launch could mean a third country makes it to the moon for the very first time ever. Spectrum News 13's Crystal Knowles is joining us live from Cape Canaveral Air Force Station to tell us a bit about the 3 missions expected to go up in the sky in just a matter of minutes. Crystal.
Yes, that's right. With 80% favorable weather, as you can see, everything looks clear. So it seems like it's going to be the green light for this launch. This is the first launch from SpaceX of the year. The Falcon 9 has 3 important missions. Now, there's different ways you can view this whole rocket launch. You can
It's clear, not crystal clear, but it's clear. You're going to film this from my front yard here, right out the front door.
So let's talk a little bit
WDAN Space News.
Key missions going on, and it's going to launch from Air Force Station Complex 40. The main mission
It's about 30 miles from here as the crow flies.
The new Thr-2 is a planned communications satellite from a private company in Indonesia. It is a large, high-throughput satellite that will provide voice and data communications and broadband internet throughout Indonesia and Southeast Asia. Another satellite that will be sent into orbit is a small Air Force research payload S5. An experimental Air Force satellite attached to the larger satellite, which will hitch a ride into orbit roughly 22,000 miles over the equator, where it will separate the small satellite intended to test space situational awareness technologies will have a secondary payload. And the third mission that's taking front and center is the Beresheet lunar lander. An Israel startup is set to launch to the moon in just a couple of minutes. If it's successful, it will become the first private mission ever to reach the lunar surface. A huge milestone in the history of lunar exploration. A lot is at stake. The Beresheet lunar lander from the company SpaceX based in Israel, the lander weighs about 150 kilograms and measures about 2 meters across. The company was formed in 2011 and later entered the Google Lunar X Prize competition to send private spacecraft to the moon. That competition was canceled in early 2018. But SpaceX, along with several other companies, decided to continue that mission on their own. The lunar lander has quite a trip ahead. It will take about 40 days to reach the moon, which is
going to take the rocket booster and land it on a drone ship about 200 miles off the coast of Jacksonville.
Yes, let's sit right now to a live feed for the countdown.
WDAN Space News.
5-minute intermission, and they will play 2 10-minute extra periods.
Now who's got what's left in the tank? You know, who has what?
4, 3,
who has the energy?
Oh, they lit the fuse. Okay, let's go outside and see how quick this thing accelerates. There it is. Just breaking up over the horizon.
Almost got a ring around it.
I wonder if we're going to see this thing separate.
Oh, we should. What a view.
That's why it's so good to watch this at night, because it gets lost in the daylight, the haze of the day,
Yep.
and you can't see a lot of detail. But at night, it's a whole nother animal.
Should be any minute.
It's throwing off a nice trail there.
I gotta
Starting to haul the mail there.
I gotta close one eye, man. Both eyes open. I get a circle around it. Must be my cataracts. I think
The same thing. They're going to, when this booster rocket separates, it's going to fall back to Earth, and it's going to land on a drone ship 200 miles off the coast of Jacksonville.
Well, that exhaust.
Now all of a sudden you see
Green,
it stop, and it might be separating now.
You know?
See, right then, you see that flash, and it does the separation, then you'll see that other rocket stage fire usually. There it goes. It's firing now. You see it?
Yep.
And sometimes you'll see the booster there that just fell off,
It's still mine.
tumbling. And the same thing, we'll be here for about 4 minutes, 3-4 minutes. We're just starting to hear the rumbling now. You hear a bit of a rumble from it. But we're 30 miles away as the crow flies, and that's your speed of sound coming into play.
Yep, there she goes.
We used to have an oak tree that used to be there, and they cut it out of the way. And we used to only be able to see it so far here, and that was it. And it was usually right about when the rocket would, the booster would separate, but couldn't see it. That tree was there.
That's great where that tree was there.
And the same thing, they got a ship off the shore too that's running around, a ship with a giant net on it. When that opens up to release all the payloads, some kind of big shroud or whatever's covering it, they're going to be out there with a ship and a giant net trying to recover that. They're going to use parachutes. They're going to use parachutes and try to drop it right into it. So that's about all we're going to see out here. We'll head back inside, see if there's a replay.
An experimental probe that will hit the run into orbit roughly 22,000 miles over the equator. The test-based situational awareness technologies will be a secondary payload. And kind of the main thing that's taking front and center is the lunar lander. It's the third mission that's called the Bear Sheet. An Israel startup is set to launch this to the moon, and if it's successful, it will become the first private mission ever to reach the lunar surface, a huge milestone in the history of lunar exploration. A lot right now is at stake, so everybody's on suspense, so we completely understand that. The Bear Sheet lunar lander...
They're supposed to be launching a rocket, SpaceX, in the beginning. I heard March 2nd that they were going to do it, and that's the one that they're going to send people to Mars with. So it's got to be a pretty huge rocket.
That one took off real quick.
Yeah, but that one is got to be a lot smaller than something that's going to be sending people to Mars. I mean, and that would be the maiden voyage of it. So
a lot longer than the Apollo missions that reached the moon.
I don't know if I'd just film it from the front lawn or I'd actually go out to Patrick Air Force Base and watch it from out there a lot
It
closer.
will attempt to make touchdown between the landing sites of Apollo 15 and 17. The Bear Sheet lander will also run on solar power.
I wonder if that on the left, if that's trying to land on that drone ship there.
Camera and a selfie camera that will snap images of the surface. Now, this mission is a little pricey. It costs about $100 million to put together. And like I said, if it's successful, it would be the first privately funded mission to the lunar surface, which is a huge milestone. It will also have 3 days, only 3 days to survive on the moon and gather all the information needed to complete the mission before.
That one on the left, that's the one that's the booster that's going to land. You can see those little fins there that it's firing the rocket, It's getting ready to touch down usually.
Yeah, it's it right there. It's landing. That thing was screaming.
Stage 1 entry burn. Shut down.
Yep.
And entry burn
It
is
shut down and
Entry burn.
Next coming up at about 2 plus 8 minutes will be a rapid series of events. Next coming up at about 2 plus 8 minutes will be a rapid series of events. This will start of the landing burn, second by the engine landing, or SECO 1. SECO 1 is start of the landing burn, followed by 4 seconds of each other, followed by
That double time?
Yeah,
will
that's-
occur within 4 seconds of each other, followed by the stage 1 landing shortly after that. And we are at T plus 7 minutes and 22 seconds, so we're just under a minute. And we are at T plus 7 minutes and 22 seconds, so we're just under a minute.
now when they landed it at Cape Canaveral there, you'd be able to watch it be outside. We'd still cut the camera trained off in that
Yeah.
direction, and right above the horizon, all of a sudden you saw like a flare go off,
Yeah.
and you saw that light, and it just dropped behind the tree line, and
That
boop,
second stage engine is glowing.
you saw it light up, and then
All right,
boop,
everyone, let's
it went
recap
dark, and
exactly what
it
you were
landed.
able to watch with our crystal
Amazing.
balls there live for us at Cape Canaveral along the Space Coast. You watched a SpaceX Falcon 9 launch featuring 3 missions tonight. Let's listen in to a replay of what we just had an opportunity to see.
Sure, why not? What the heck? WDAN News is watching, why not everybody? Yeah, it broke the horizon fairly quickly, so. The next test, we'll see if that,
While stage 2 is
very soon it should be landing on that drone ship off the coast. And then the other one is that ship with the net, if it catches that shroud. They're trying to recycle all that stuff. They must have had a whole bunch of crap off the coast here. It must have been like a junkyard out there with all the... They used to just launch them and drop them in the water.
And stage 1 booster landing, which is perfect. We heard a lot of people clapping.
Oh.
A lot was riding
So
on
it did
this. 3
land on
missions.
that drone
So
ship.
Yeah,
far,
that's what-
There it is.
The
Yeah, that's
lunar
what-
landing
Yep.
is going to take about 40 days to arrive.
The funny thing is, it's only got a tripod. It's got 3 legs and it's got 3 things, and that's how
40
it...
minutes, so we're going to check out for that.
Gonna
Also,
slingshot this thing, huh?
And they had one of them that landed up at Cape Canaveral. They landed 2 of them. Boom, boom, right next to each other.
Right.
That was impressive.
That's
Wish
all,
my
you
dad
know,
was alive
it
to
was
see
a good,
this stuff.
It was a good way to start the rocket launch
just
season.
ate this up.
Live at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. Crystal Knowles, Spectrum.
WDAN Space
Thank you
News.
so much for that live
Signing
report.
off.
Spectacular.
We'll-
We were able to hear the
We'll be
countdown
back maybe in a week or 2 if they launch that bigger SpaceX
Falcon 9 launch. Space Launch
rocket.
Complex 40 at Cape
Be
Canaveral
good.
Air Force
WDAN
Station,
News.
right here
Signing
on
off.
Spectrum News Thursday.